BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. Hey guys, I'm joined, very special treat today with Graham Stephan, one of the best financial YouTubers out there. You know, he dabbled a little bit in cryptocurrency, made some Bitcoin videos, but he does a phenomenal job. You guys should make sure to subscribe to his channel. We'll have it down in the comments. Graham, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All the way to Las Vegas.
All the way to Las Vegas for this video. Absolutely. So, you know, we're here at your house, absolutely beautiful house. Love everything going on out here. But, you know, for our audience, we've had a lot of people that have gotten rich this year. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. You've seen what's happened with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and you really specialize in more traditional investments, real estate. That's kind of your forte. I want to know from you, like, what does someone who, let's just say, has gotten rich over 6 months, what do you think the best way for them to kind of hedge that money on the traditional market is?
In terms of what I would do, I would feel very uncomfortable myself keeping more than like 20% of my net worth in cryptocurrency, unless I know you're the exception and you would advocate, you know, go all in. I believe at this point to diversify. And it depends on how much money you've made. I think if you're like at 100 grand and that's equivalent to maybe a year's worth of salary, then it's not as bad as if it's, you know, $1 million and you're making 50 grand a year. And maybe then it's smarter to play it a little more safe. My personal recommendation, or what I would do, is probably sell off at least half and invest somewhere between index funds or real estate, whatever you have time to do and feel comfortable with. Just, I would take a safer approach, spread your money around. That way, just in case something were to happen to it, you're at least going to have money aside in something that shouldn't be as volatile.
Yeah, but Bitcoin has piqued your interest a little bit. You've been talking about on your channel. What are kind of your general thoughts? What was the moment where you said, you know what, I think maybe this is a good thing to either talk about or invest in?
I think when I started seeing a lot of bigger corporations put some of their reserves in Bitcoin, that was the point where I thought to myself, it's worth it to learn more about what it is. And for me, I've always been, I don't want to say I've been dismissive of it, but I'm open to the idea of looking into something that I've been skeptical about and changing an opinion on it based on new research. And so the more I looked into it, this was earlier this year, really starting since like November, December. The more I looked into it, the more I began to like it. And the more I began to think, well, I'd rather take the 1% risk and be in it than not take 1% of my net worth and be out of it. So I got to 1%. That 1% has now grown to about almost 2% now. And it's at a point now where I'm starting to treat it like any other investment. So for every $100,000 I'll put in the stock market, I'll take maybe $1,000 to $2,000 of that and put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum. And so my strategy right now is basically just a dollar cost average over the long term. And I'm going to keep it probably under 5% of my net worth. Right now it's at 2. I mean, if it goes 2, 3, 4, that doesn't matter. It's really for me an amount that if that were to go to 0 tomorrow, it would be disappointing, but I wouldn't be devastated. So that is how I'm treating it, at least right now.
And I think that's a very important point, because something we always tell people, and we understand people get overextended. I'm very overextended in terms of percentage of my portfolio, of my overall wealth into cryptocurrency. But don't invest what you can't afford to lose. You don't want something to be such a gut punch when you lose it that it makes you question your life. Or, you know, we saw it happen with a guy that was doing, you know, derivatives trading on Robinhood that took his life. Very, very sad story. You don't want to get to that point. So I do think that's really good. I would say, you know, I hope that your percentage grows to like 10% of your portfolio as the price of Bitcoin goes way up. How would you handle that if Bitcoin does go? A lot of us think Bitcoin's going to $300,000 this year. There's a lot of signs that do point to that. Are you going to, if it gets above, let's say 5%, are you just going to start pulling it out, or are you going to let it grow?
No, I would let it grow. At this point, it's all or nothing in terms of that. So I'm not planning to do anything with it unless I needed the money. If there's something that came up where I'm like, ah, crap, I need money, Bitcoin. I would consider that, but otherwise, I'm just planning to hold this for like 50 years. Okay. If it goes to 0, fine. If it goes up a lot, great. But yeah, if it grows to more, I would 99% not take any money off the table.
So like if you needed to buy a Logan Paul NFT, that's what you would do, pull the money out.
I would sell my Ethereum first.
Okay. So I want to go back to our original question with what the suggestion would be to people that you want to that would want to hedge some of their newfound wealth into other areas. What is the area of investing and traditional investing you think is the lowest barrier to entry for understanding to just jump in and start kind of making money?
Yeah, the lowest barrier to entry wouldn't necessarily be the best.
Gotcha.
Lowest barrier to entry, I would say, is an index fund. I think the obvious go-to answer is just take $6,000, open up a Roth IRA, go and invest in a broad index fund, VT-SAX, just the total stock market index fund. That's the lowest barrier to entry. In 20 minutes, you could set up a Roth IRA, throw your money in an index fund, and be completely done and never look at it again. That would be the lowest barrier to entry. I think the best option, though, depending on your situation, use some of that money, put a down payment on a house like a duplex or a triplex, move in one of the units, rent out the others, pay for your cost of the mortgage and property taxes, try to live for free, you're almost very close to it, and then just live there as long as you can, let the property appreciate. You're diversifying your net worth a little bit, and you get a place to live.
Yeah. What are you looking for in an investment like that? Like what separates a good investment like a duplex from a bad investment?
Good investment, it makes money.
Yeah.
Bad investment, it loses money.
I like that.
That's really what it comes down to. I would say from a lot of the properties that are out there, like 98% of it is just trash.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go on Zillow and be like, oh, I'll buy this investment property right now. Chances are it's a bad investment. It takes a long time to try to find like the right deal. That's been one of the reasons why I have not been buying real estate as an investment. It takes so much time, and that time gets taken away from everything else that I'm doing. So if you have the time, by all means, do it. That's what I did for the first 8 years of my career, is spend nonstop every day looking for good deals. And after 6 months, one deal would come up. It's yeah, that's the one that I could actually make money on. There's enough upside. It's under market value. I could fix it up. I could add value to it. Most, it's just crap.
Yeah. I think that's the difficult thing is finding that right spot. And a lot of novice people that might just go, grab the first thing they see, and that's not always going to be where you're going to want to put your money. Now, I did an episode on the iced coffee hour,
yes.
Your podcast or your show, and I really enjoyed it. We had a lot of
fun.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
I loved that. Yeah.
Yeah. And a statement you made to me after was, wow, this was easy. I did all the talking. But
true. Yeah.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
My wife says the same thing. But in all seriousness, though, you pressed me on a couple issues, revolving did I think NFTs were in a bubble, or did I think that crypto in general is a bubble? Well, I want to put that question back on you. Mm-hmm. Do you think that real estate is in a bubble, and do you also think that the stock market right now is in a bubble? What do you kind of see happening with those things?
I don't see any of those in a bubble. I think they're both fueled right now by really low interest rates. Real estate is unique because real estate is not just dependent on one factor. It's a whole bunch of different factors that make it up. So let's say one aspect of that would be supply and demand. One would be the local job market. The other might be inflation, and the other might be interest rates. So you have 4 different aspects that play into that building. And then also, how much money does it make? And is that return comparable to other assets for the amount of risk that you take in it? So there's so much for real estate. The one thing I could see happening to real estate is that if interest rates go up, real estate becomes a little bit more expensive because of that. Yeah. Maybe people could afford less, so prices come down. But it almost ends up being the same price for you, because either you pay a low interest rate and a higher price, or you pay a lower price and a higher interest rate. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Usually it's going to add up to about the same, but I say the local job market and economy is so much more important than interest rates. So real estate, I think there's still some great opportunities out there in certain cities. I think probably a lot of places in Texas, Nashville, and Arizona, I think are fantastic for investments. It's competitive, but if you get a good deal, I'm all for it. Stocks, I think some stocks are a little bit lofty. I think I'm going to get hate on this one, but Tesla I think is quite lofty. I think
it was until they bought Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Some tech stocks I think are very lofty. Green energy, lofty. I don't think they won't end up at that valuation in the future. I think they're trading ahead of themselves. But I do think there are aspects of the stock market that are undervalued. I think oil could be one of those things that I still think has a way to go and hasn't fully recovered. So I think it really depends on the individual stock, and I wouldn't say the entire market as a whole is in a bubble.
What are your feelings when I say stonks meme?
I like it.
You like the stonks meme.
I love the
You're a
stonks
big
meme.
fan of the
Yeah.
stonks. It's hard for me to hear the word stocks and not hear stonks. Stonks.
Sometimes I catch myself accidentally saying stonks, but I just keep it in there because it's like someo's going to comment that. And that helps the algorithm. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
all
like
for
misspelling
it.
a word.
I like
Yeah,
it.
TJ's
Or say
good at that.
hodl instead of hold. You better hodl that investment.
Or hodl.
Hodl.
That's,
hodl it.
you know, it's a big discussion in crypto. Which one is it? Is it hodl or hodl?
Yeah.
I'm a hodler. That's what I am.
I think it's hodl because you would hold.
Yeah.
But then it's hodl.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would think moving the letters changes the phonetics of the word. So I don't know. So I mean,
but that's not the intention of the word.
Tomato,
the intention
tomato.
of the word was hold.
Yeah.
So I think you have to.
Wow,
keep
he's really going at me on
you
this
have
one.
to keep the integrity of the word intact.
Graham's strong opinions, the strongest opinions yet to date on hodl versus hold.
Yeah.
I really love that. I want to ask you about. We also talked on your show about the M1 money supply and the parabolic movement, the helicopter money. Like, how safe do you feel putting investments that are ultimately equated to U.S. dollars in this economy that we might be facing with hyperinflation? Do you think that's even a concern, or in your mind, like, is that just not something that's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see hyperinflation. Where we are seeing, if you want to argue inflation, I'd say you see inflation in asset prices. I don't think the inflation has translated to goods and services. Like, you're not going to the grocery store right now and paying $10 for milk. Right. You're not going and buying a car right now, and that car went from $20,000 to $50,000. You are seeing that in the stock market. So that is the biggest concern for me. But a lot of the population right now is not spending their money on goods and services. So you could argue that we might see inflation when the economy fully reopens and we start getting back to normal. But then you also have the argument that maybe people are going to be so traumatized by the situation that they're not going to spend the same as they were 2 years ago. And there could be a brand new mindset. Like, we came out of the Great Depression in the 20s, and like our grandparents were very much like, no, we're not going to spend money. We're gonna be very frugal, because they remember that.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of other people are going to feel the same way. So we might not see inflation like that. We might see inflation. Well, we are seeing, I would call it inflation in asset prices. Is it justified? Maybe, because there's more money going into circulation, and that is going to end up somewhere. That's my argument.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought. I haven't really thought about the mindset coming out, but I mean, I would think a lot of people are going to come out of this mindset with, government got me. They're just going to print more money.
Maybe, but I also think that now I've started to notice that saving money is cool. I've never seen it before. Like 10 years ago, saving money was not necessarily cool.
Yeah.
I feel like now it's become trendy almost to be like, I'm good with personal finance. I'm good with credit cards. So like, I'm growing my net worth.
It's because of your channel. That's why everybody loves Graham's channel.
I think my channel coincided with a movement that was already going in that direction, regardless of what I would talk about. And I think the fact that my channel even did well says something that people want to move in that direction of being financially literate. So I think I happen to be into something that was already going in that direction. But I just feel like so many people after this are going to be like, look at me, I saved 20% of my income now. That's cool. So I don't think we're going to have the same level of spending like we did before. I would hope not.
Yeah.
So that would subdue inflation. But honestly, this is all just speculation. And it could very well go that the economy reopens and people are like, I've been locked up for a year and a half now. I'm ready to go to restaurants and it's like spend the money. But then you could also say, well, where are they getting that money? If we still have high unemployment, where is that coming from? So we are getting very much the rich are richer, the poor are poorer, and where the rich spending their money, stock market, real estate, assets.
Yeah, and I would think that, when what I've said before, like kind of my prediction for the future, the next couple of years, is that next year is when we get the big hit. This whole entire year, still going to continue to, I think we are in a giant bubble with the stock market. I think we are in a giant bubble in basically our entire economy due to the rampant money printing. We got a lot of memes in crypto about it.
So where do you think the stock market should drop to? Where do you think it's worth right now?
Well, God forbid I give an answer because I don't know.
Okay.
I'll just be honest about that. When it comes to the stonks, I look at it like a meme. I would rather invest in cryptocurrency where, we can get, 200 or 300% in a couple months sometimes than something where a 10% gain a year is like a big deal. And I know the tech stocks, people have had much better returns than that. But for me, investing in more cryptocurrency, I get a better return. We are moving. We do want to talk, and this is something we're going to be talking more on the channel in the future. I'm going to go on that journey. I'm going to go on that journey and start, investing in the stock market a little bit more, and then maybe I could have an understanding. But I can't just throw out arbitrary numbers on stuff that I don't know. All I know is everything screams the economy's not doing great and it should be going down, and yet they're going up.
Depends on the industry. Earnings have been crazy for some online companies. Absolutely booming. I think just like it's now becoming impossible to say the economy is not doing well right now because certain industries are doing the best they've ever been now.
Such as Amazon?
Almost any online company right now, including YouTube, as I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah.
YouTube
Big Boy Crypto is doing great.
Yeah, YouTube is really doing the best it's ever done. And I could say that from every creator I've ever spoken to over the last year is doing better during this time than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's just because more people are home, they're watching YouTube, and that's become their source of entertainment for free. And a lot of the online companies, Etsy is another fantastic example that just blasted earnings, and they're making a lot of money. Google is another one, just doing fantastically well right now with everything going online. And some could also say those changes are going to be permanent. A lot of those changes, people don't break those habits very easy.
Yeah. Do you think we got to kind of wrap it up here in a few minutes, but do you think that that's a good thing when you have the largest companies out there that are doing well and a lot of the smaller ones are not doing well? Like, what does that say about the state of the economy for small businesses?
Supply and demand. I really believe that this just caused everything to flip at once.
Yeah. Sped it up 10 years, I think.
Just like I feel like saving money was going in that direction of being cool, this just like put it on forward, like fast forward, like really quickly, just overnight. And I think normally, in a normal situation, a lot of these small like brick and mortar businesses would have had time to adjust and have seen that maybe sales are declining, they're losing business to online, and they would have had a time to adjust. Instead, there's like just crap, they're shut down. Whoever was already positioned online gets that first mover advantage. They get all the business. Yeah. I just think, like, I don't go to malls anymore. Who does that? Exactly. Yeah. But that's just the nature of it. Just we found a better way to do something that's now cheaper, and people are going to move in that direction. So it makes sense.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are not ready for that. No one could have predicted this. No. And they were caught in the downturn on this.
Yeah, I think The Simpsons.
The Simpsons did it first.
Certainly they predicted it.
Of course they did.
Last question. We've talked about Bitcoin a little bit. We've talked about traditional investments. Are there any altcoins, anything outside of Bitcoin that you're interested in and why?
Ethereum. That's been the only... So I did a 60-40 split between Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I try, if I invest a little bit in Bitcoin, I try to do the same. I try to buy like, let me get one extra Ethereum. That's it. That's it right now.
So not Cardano?
No.
Wow.
Even though I've been, listen,
you've been peppered, right? They've been peppering you.
Yeah, it was at 80 cents. Everyone's like, hey, just buy Cardano, buy Cardano. And I didn't, but I remember a lot of people told me to buy all these coins back in like 2017. I'm glad I didn't listen to that. There was one though. What do you think of Nano?
Nano, that's funny. A company I know actually just started accepting Nano. But Nano is one of these projects, and on your show, we talked about the difference between investment and use case, and how, like, for instance, Brave Browser, such incredible use case, is doing so well, and it's not one of the top cryptocurrencies. It's in the top 80, but it's not in the top 10, and it's the most used product, in my opinion. Nano's another one of those. It's the fastest out there. It's got such a good app. It does so well, and yet the investment, the speculation side of it has just never really lined up with how well it does. So that's kind of how I see it. I've always liked Nano. I've been a big fan of Nano. Yeah. I was actually heavily invested and got totally wrecked in 2018 by Nano. So
nice. So Nano was the only one. So when I say I bought Bitcoin at 17, I sold it at like 17.5. Yeah. I put most of that into Nano at $1.50. And I wrote it to 37. Yeah. And I think it was supposed to be listed on, what was the exchange? There was some exchange where it won the coin of the month or something like that. It was supposed to be listed. And then it was an idiot. I did all the analysis. I'm like, when it gets listed, it's supposed to go to 45, but I'm going to be smart. I'm going to sell it at 40. Hit 37. Oh. And I was up a lot of money on that. And it just went down. Yeah. And I'm like, it's going to go back up. Kept going down, kept going down, kept going down. So,
well, we've got that in common. Both totally wrecked on
Nano. I kept a good chunk of it, and I just left it. And I remember when it was down at like $2, I'm like, should I sell it? I'm like, what am I going to use the money for? I may as well just leave it in there. I'm happy to see it now at like $5. I'm just gonna hold that at this point.
You have to at this point. Nostalgia.
I'm not gonna sell it.
Yeah.
But if it goes to 40, I'm selling it like 37.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So you guys know
that was
bake that in.
Yeah.
Sell it 39. You guys heard it here first.
But you know what? That was a great lesson.
Yeah.
And there have been very few things that I have lost money at, and that was one of those experiences that really like. You know what? There are winners and losers, and that was a lesson that I needed to learn. So be it.
Yeah, those lessons can be very valuable.
Yeah.
They pay off down the road with some of your investment decisions.
Back when it was Ryblocks, remember that?
Rayblox.
I call it
That's
Ryblocks,
right.
yeah.
The rebrand was going to be
Yeah.
the big when it went from rebrand to Nano, and then of course they had the
Yeah.
Rayblox hack that was on Big Grail.
Yeah.
That's what led to a lot of the sell-offs and stuff like that.
I
So
remember that.
Yeah.
thing. I didn't get anything stolen, but geez, wild.
it was tough. I mean, the lawsuit went on for years.
Yeah.
But Graham, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thanks for having me at your house. It's been absolutely phenomenal. Everybody, make sure you guys go down and subscribe to Graham's channel. He says that he wants to see so many subscribers come from this video, right?
Yeah, you know what? So far, I've never gotten a good like crossover audience. But if your audience is up for the task, my information is down below in the description, where you could also smash the like button.
Smash that like button while you're at it. Smash the like button if you like seeing more of these collaborations with people like Graham.
And the notification bell.
And the notification bell. And make sure you got your notification turned on YouTube. That's another big thing. But guys, you guys heard it here first. The Bit Squad has got to be the community to give him that pump. You guys make sure to go pump his channel. You guys hit that subscribe button
If we
to
get
him.
to 3 million after this, all we need is, I think it's like 60,000. No, 50,000.
Oh, yeah.
50,000 of your viewers go to my channel. We could hit 3 mil.
That's easy. That's less than
Before
10%.
yeah.
You know, you guys go make it happen.
That would
Graham,
be incredible.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Been awesome. Guys, drop comments down below. Let me know who you want to see on the channel next. That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.